Hello and welcome to Just Pauses. There is usually a little that we say and a lot that remains unsaid inside each one of us. And of all that we say in words, only a bit is heard while a lot is still left unheard. We were taught in college that listening skills are important. However, I find all around me a crisis of hearing, which is a bigger one. To be listened to is a privilege, and most of us do not even aim at that, but at least we should be heard. Listening requires two efforts: hearing the spoken words and sensing the feelings. Listening is deeper and comes at the next level. It almost stands at the verge of people accepting and understanding our words. It's a huge expectation that everybody in our close circles shall listen to us. Here, a large number of ears are just playing deaf, deliberately feigning an inability to even hear. This form of behavioral manipulation in personal and professional relationships is becoming rampant. I guess people wish to avoid conflicts or commitment, or they have no respect towards those whose words they choose not to hear. Once a couple of guys were complaining that their wives talked too much but never heard what they had to say. So one guy smiled and offered a solution. He said, "If you want your wife to hear you and pay strict attention to every word you say, talk in your sleep." This is what is happening in relationships even without any physical hearing loss. In almost every relationship that hurts, the hurting begins when the other stops hearing. It is an insult when someone does not hear us out. It is the most definitive sign of "I don't care" a bit. And we intentionally or otherwise subject those closest to us to this humiliation. One's entire existence is brushed aside in that moment when we, with our attitudes and egos, refuse to hear the cries of a loved one. Ask about the first signs of anguish and distress to both sides in a teenager-parent relationship, and both the sides will blurt out, "I'm not even heard." Ask a spouse about the moment when the marriage started developing cracks, and the answer will be, "when he or she stopped hearing me out." All of this happens everywhere, in our homes and offices and in love and marriages too. Not to mention that the sane voices of millions of citizens remain unheard for decades worldwide. But when politicians and bosses or colleagues selectively hear us and even trample upon our dignity, it hurts little. Not as deeply as when parents, spouse, siblings, and kids do not hear us. We ought to hear each other out. That is the first step. The second step is to listen, to proactively absorb the words, pay heed to them, and try to understand them. And the third step is that, at least for a few who are very dear to us, we try and listen to even that which is unsaid. Do prioritize people and decide how many steps to take for whom. I feel every human being deserves this much respect that we take the first step for them, at least keep the ears open and hear their words. I read these lines in a person's blog, a person who suffered from an actual hearing loss. He wrote, "I am a better listener than before my hearing loss. I seek to understand now what others are saying, never letting words wash over me without meaning. I capture ideas, I ask questions, and I restate issues to confirm if my understanding is correct. When I was with full sound, I was often a silent listener, giving eye contact and nodding at appropriate moments, yet perhaps drifting in and out of focus. But now I am grateful for the hearing I do have. I appreciate this wonderful sense that plays a huge part in enabling me to interact with and enjoy the world." Perhaps, as with many things, not until we lose something do we realize its value. We have to take our own little pause here and reflect. What do you do? Do you hear everyone out no matter how busy you are? And what about those dear to you? Do you hear what they don't even say in words? There is this anecdote about USA's 32nd president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. Most likely it is not a true one, but it nevertheless brings a smile and conveys the message. So I shall share with you. FDR was often received by large greeting lines at the White House. But he felt frustrated that none of the greeters seemed to pay attention to the things he said to them. To prove his point to his staff, one morning during one of these meet and greets, the president passed through the line, shaking each guest's hand and murmuring the same peculiar statement. "I murdered my grandmother this morning." As expected, it quickly became evident that his words had slipped in one ear and out the other. Each guest responded with phrases such as, "Marvelous! Keep up the great work. We sure are proud of you, Mr. President. God bless you," and so on. That continued until he reached the end of the line to greet an ambassador of a South American country. He repeated the line, and though taken aback by the president's statement, the ambassador leaned closer and whispered, "I'm sure she had it coming." It is all a matter of choice. We choose to not hear. It is convenient. We think there will be less work that way, or perhaps less discomfort. Or is it that when we really stop caring, that we stop hearing? Do take a pause. Thank you.